you're live across all the channels, because what you don't want is you don't want someone to not be able to see and other people to be able to see. So hopefully we're live across all the channels. Very good evening and welcome to the show. Lovely to have you here this evening. I'm delighted to say that Charlotte Richardson is joining me on the show. Hello, Charlotte. Are you okay?
Hi, yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah,
This forest life is keeping us entertained, isn't it, with these big decisions?
yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, I'm okay. We'll get onto that in a minute. James Cummins is joining us on the phone tonight. James, hello. Good evening.
Good evening, Ben. Good evening, Charlotte, and good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is all right where they are this evening. It's certainly been a mad one, to be honest, especially with what we're going to talk about tonight. Can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, and you can get involved in the show. So we're making use of all technology, obviously, as most people are at the moment. You can get involved in the show. We really want your input tonight. I know that there's been so many messages across social media, mainly on Twitter, but we do want you to get involved in the show. There's a number there you can call. You can just come straight into us, and our producer will put you through, and you can talk to us, and you can get your thoughts on today's announcement that steps 3 to 6 of the English Pyramid are finishing the season. That's it. It's done, and all of the points are not counted. Nothing. It's just as if it didn't happen. It's really big, actually. I'm just going to move my camera up ever so slightly. It's unprecedented. It's just we're at a stage of the season where teams are leading by some considerable margins. We've got teams that are on for promotions that have had their best ever seasons, and I know that there's going to be people out there that are going to say, "Well, look, the world is grieving. The world has a huge problem, and football is insignificant." And I totally get that. And we'll talk about our poll in a minute. But there are still teams that have put in so much this season. And I think, and I'll get the guys' thoughts on this in a moment, the biggest question is this going to be across all of football? Have we just seen today the first step of what is going to be a domino effect across all of football? That's, I guess, what people want to know. And I'm not being disrespectful when I say that steps 3 to 6 are the lowest part of the pyramid, not forgetting the other steps below that. But the National League and the National League North and South is holding its breath this evening, because that's the next announcement. And then we get to the Football League and the Championship and the Premier League. So much to talk about tonight. Please get your thoughts on social media. We'll get some of those up on the screen, and you can call and you can get involved in the debate. Right, let's take a breath just for a moment and pause. I'm going to bring Charlotte in. Charlotte, what do you make of the decision, first of all, from a non-league football perspective?
I think on Tuesday evening we brushed on the topic and kind of predicted that this decision was going to be made. And I think ultimately it's one that I agree with. And I hope over the next hour we'll get to hear lots of different people's opinions on this. But I think ultimately it's the fairest decision to make. And we spoke, certainly on Tuesday, we spoke about the integrity of the competition and the integrity of football. And by that, I mean the period of uncertainty would have seen a whole host of football clubs fold. And although it's a tough decision and it's a tough decision made in unprecedented times, I do think, whether you agree with them or not, you have to applaud the Football Association and the leagues upon making this decision now, rather than going ahead with weeks of uncertainty. It does mean for a huge number of football clubs across this country, and the people that run them, the people responsible for making sure that, you know, they can open their doors on a weekly basis and stage football games and look after all these finances and the things that we probably don't even realise that goes on to get a game of football on, they at least have some clarity over the situation. And I think, obviously, looking on social media, the FA have got a lot of flack, understandably so. It's a very passionate topic. But let's not forget that this decision hasn't just been made by the Football Association. It's been made with extensive conversations with the leagues themselves, and the leagues have in turn consulted with the clubs. So it's a bold move, but ultimately I think when we look back on this, maybe not necessarily in 3 months' time, not maybe in 6 years' time, 6 months' time, I think in years to come we'll look at this and wonder why we even had this debate. I think unfortunately we're set for a horrendous few months, and football, and this decision will prove ultimately to be the wisest call.
Yeah, we had that, and James, we had that conversation, as Charlotte said, on Monday, where we actually asked the question of, is it better to disrupt and cancel this season than to have any effect on next season? And what are your opinions on it?
Well, I have to start off by saying that this is, of course, an extremely unprecedented situation that we're in at the moment, and these are very unprecedented times we're experiencing as a whole away from football. It was always going to happen one way or another, that a decision needed to be made, whether the season would continue in a format or a guise later on in the year, or the season was to be cancelled. And we've seen this afternoon that for steps 3 to 6, that it's become a reality for the latter. I could completely understand the backlash from certain areas regarding this, saying that the achievements of the season are now effectively null and void as a result of this decision to end the season early. But we have to understand at the end of the day that there are more pressing matters, and we've covered upon it before in previous shows since we've restarted again, that there are more important things at this moment in time regarding football. From a logistical point of view, it is probably the most straightforward approach to start with a clean slate again, especially with a number of games played. And if you get to a point where we will restart games, whenever that position may be, things will be on paper a lot more simpler and a lot more straightforward. The counter argument for that is the effect on clubs as a whole, on the playing staff, and the financial implications of a cancellation of the remainder of the league fixtures. We have to look into consideration what diverse effect this will have on clubs as a whole going into a new season, especially give or take teams which are toward the top of the table, who have perhaps invested heavily on a promotion strategy going into the season coming up. And this result will have, I think this will have a real dire set of consequences for not only clubs, but also the playing staff and the people directly involved with the particular clubs who have been affected by today's decision. So it was always going to be a very difficult choice to make by the league and the FA and whoever had the responsibility of making this unprecedented decision this afternoon. But I think what we will see as a direct result is potentially we could see a domino effect throughout the leagues above in this country, and potentially also in Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland as well. I think we're now going to see potentially an unprecedented wave of change going into the next couple of days and potentially in the next few weeks. I think this was the action that needed the leagues to make a decision, and if we're going into more uncertainty with this is just going to go on and on.
James, I'm just going to stop you there. I agree. This is a very uncertain time. I'm just going to bring Sean in on the line now, because I know Sean disagrees with some of those comments. Sean, very good evening to you. Welcome to the show. Hello, Sean, you there? I'm just going to see if I can connect Sean up now and get Sean on, because I know Sean has got some views that he wants to get on. Sean, bear with me a second. We'll just try and get you on. James, if you just continue for us. Sorry, I cut you off a bit prematurely there. So, these big decisions that are being made, it was inevitable that big decisions would have to get made.
It would be. Unfortunately, in this particular situation we're in a lot of uncertainty at the moment, give or take the surroundings that we're currently experiencing at this moment in time. And whatever the decision was going to be, whether the season was to be continued or not, it was always going to be a tough one. Whether the implications were there for future games to be played going forward into the latter part of this year or 2021, where would be the cut-off point for where the season would actually start or end?
Yeah.
It was always a tough one. It was always going to be a difficult one. So I think I'm surprised that a decision has been made already, but I think now we will see a lot more clarity in where the other leagues will probably go from here. I think this is going to be a precedent for a lot of change and a lot of strike decisions going forward.
Go, James. I'm just going to cut you off there because I now have Sean on the phone. Sean, welcome to the show tonight. Sorry about that. You are now live with us on Back of the Net. First of all, tell me the club that you support and what your views are. Hopefully, we'll be able to get Sean on in a moment. Having a couple of technical problems is always the way, isn't it? When you're trying to get somebody on, we've got messages left, right, and centre. Yeah, you're in. Can we all hear Sean? There we go. Brilliant. All right. So Sean, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. Just checking that Charlotte can hear Sean. You can hear him, can't you?
I can't, unfortunately.
You can't. Okay, right. Let's see if we can get you on properly. In the meantime, James, sorry, continue what you were saying. There's comments going on the screen as well, so you can have a look at those and let me know what you think of some of the comments that are coming in at the moment, and we'll read those through in a moment as I just try and connect Sean.
Well, I'm just having a look through at the moment. I'm looking at the comments from Tony Ward saying it feels like a relegation for some teams, such as Worthing FC. Can't see how you can stop a season where there is 75% of the games that